Hey guys, it's Juan Zuniga and this is Jansek. I've been receiving a lot of emails from people asking me how they can afford a Rolex. So I'm gonna give you 3 tips on how to add a Rolex to your collection. The first tip is to find an inexpensive Rolex. I know Rolex are very expensive, but they range. They range from lower end Rolex to higher end, like a Yachtmaster or a Submariner. So the first tip, like I said, is to find an inexpensive Rolex, like a Datejust or an Explorer. Even though they're still pricey and they can cost a few $1,000s, they're still way cheaper than a Yachtmaster or, like I said, a Submariner. For example, I wanted a GMT Rolex. However, it was very pricey. The one I wanted was about $8,000 to $9,000. I wasn't gonna pay that amount of money. So I went with the Explorer. It has similar features as the GMT, like the GMT hand, but I'm not paying thousands of dollars. I actually paid way less than that, and I was able to find it secondhand from eBay at a very reasonable price. The second tip is look for a vintage or a used watch. Don't try to go for a new Rolex. Looking for a new Rolex is gonna cost you a lot of money, and you're gonna be paying a crazy amount for something that is new. You can look for something that is like new and pay considerably less than a new Rolex, or you can go for a vintage and find it for way less, but you have to consider that it might have some patina in it. Know that it's a vintage, so it can be from the 60s, 50s, 70s, so it's technically an old watch. However, you're still gonna get a Rolex, so if you get a service like Rolex asks you to, it's gonna last you a lifetime. It's still, like I said, a Rolex, great movement, reliable watch that is gonna last you a lifetime. Look for a vintage or look for a like new watch if you don't want the patina, the scratches, the fading. So look for something like new and you'll be able to save yourself considerably a lot of money compared to a new one, or go for vintage and you're gonna save yourself a whole lot of money. The third tip is look on eBay. eBay is a great site to look at. So for example, if you go on eBay and look for a vintage Datejust, you'll be able to find a lot of vintage Datejust there. So, but things to look at are, for me, for example, I don't like buying anything that's outside the US. There's some people that do and find great deals, but I'm a little scared about it. So I changed my settings for everything that's only in the US. I always go with somebody that has 100% feedback. If it doesn't have 100% feedback, I leave that place. And I look for another person, another seller that has 100% feedback. And then I look at the pictures. I make sure that there are pictures that are detailed, that I can see every part of the watch. And it's a bonus if I can see the movement. That way I can compare it when I take it to the jeweler. The next thing that I look at is the description. I like a description that is very detailed and that gives me the model number or reference number so I can Google it and do my own research. Now, if the profile is missing any of those things, especially if it only has one picture or very blurry pictures or the detail is really not there, I skip it and I go to the next profile. Then when you receive the watch, make sure you take it to a jeweler just to make sure it's authentic. Alright guys, so these are the 3 tips that you can use to buy your new Rolex and add it to your collection. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.